Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to The Law. This is your Legal Lights. It is your Health Law. I'm your host, Samson Lardy Anyenini, and this afternoon we're looking at the subject matter of speedy justice delivery. It's been said that justice delayed is justice denied, but there is a counter to it, and that is that justice hurried is justice buried. But in between, what do you make of the Ghanaian justice system as far as speed is concerned? For those of you who have encountered the system before, do you think it is speedy enough, at least reasonably speedy enough? What will it take to get the wheels of justice grinding not as slowly as many are used to? We'll be right back.
Process no walpa. Ebi na me call. Chiro see me mama no the assassin no man. Enti you see me nko G payment. Ye di see me mama. Ewo auto me no. Eno na me. Enya say me na me di call em. Ma asase asem. Eno paper na me kra no. Afa na me nsaka paper no. Free last year February up to today. Akoni aba nkwa na me ko.
With the people who come to court, the court users, most of them, when they come to file their cases, there are some form of technicalities involved. So if you don't go by the rule or by the procedure, definitely the case will delay, because the case will have to be thrown out, and then you have to go and do the writing and bring it in. But then when it involves issues of criminality, you know, a lot of investigations goes into it. If you don't take care and you don't do the proper investigations, you would give a wrong judgment. So that's why some of the time cause court cases delay. If the court can be automated, it will help, because most of the things that the courts do is manual. Even some of the judgments that at the Supreme Court level, the judgment that they give, they would have to sit down and write everything. And sometimes it's over 100 pages, and all goes with time. So if some form of automation is done, it will speed up the process.
I believe that our system is a little complicated, because when you take an issue to court, it may probably take you a long time for them to finish the case. Meanwhile, people waste money, waste resources, and all other things for them to go through these proceedings. So I believe that if they can minimize this length of proceedings or this length of time, it will help individuals to finish their case and be free, or have free peace of mind concerning this proceedings in Ghana. Adjourning this whole thing for long should maybe a space of 1 to 2 months. They should be able to finish, depending on the case actually. But some cases you don't even need to adjourn it severally. 1 month, 2 months, we are done.
You're welcome back. So, in my introduction, I shared with you what should constitute our Law 101. Justice delayed is justice denied. And I said there's a counter to that principle or philosophy. And the counter is that justice hurried is justice buried. But in between, can we have a reasonable expectation that once the process starts, it will end within a reasonable time? What is your encounter like with the justice system in Ghana, particularly the criminal justice system? from the point of arrest or from the point of being invited by the police and making your statement to being taken to the court and the trial starting. What is your view? At the right time, we'll open the phone lines for you to share your views on what I suppose you would say the frustrations are. But let's know if there are some bright side that you want to tell us about. This afternoon, we're asking, how can the system be improved so that cases can be properly tracked from start to finish? And in fact, not end up in a situation where people get to languish in prison unfairly. And some process has been going on in that regard. It is called the case tracking system. And there are some people who have been behind it, driving it, who use that, the internet, as it were, using technology to see how it can help drive the system faster. You heard one of the people who spoke on the streets around the court talking about automation, which might help the process a big deal. So we are dealing with the subject matter of towards speedy justice delivery. And in this case, we are talking and emphasizing on the criminal justice system. My guest this afternoon, Etonam Naza, who is Systems Implementation Engineer, Focal Point, Greater Accra. He's with the Interregional Bridge Group. And welcome back to the studio. Esther Aholu, who is Programs Manager, Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, Africa Office, and Public Education and Advocacy Specialist, USAID Justice Sector Support Activity. Of course, they are behind the whole of this month that we have been dealing with matters of the justice system. Thank you and welcome once again.
Thank you so much.
Great. So let me start with you, Etonam. When you listen to the people that were spoken to around the court, it's a normal expectation that you had of them, that they will say that our system is unnecessarily delayed and slow, and that something ought to be done to propel it. Is that a fair assessment of our justice delivery system when it comes particularly to criminal justice?
Yes, it is. For instance, for remand prisoners, we realize that sometimes they are locked up longer than they're supposed to be, and then it delays the delivery of justice for them. So they are their rights. And
when you say remand prisoners, you're talking about people who have not yet gone through a trial,
yes,
who have not yet been convicted, have not been sentenced.
That's right.
In fact, it is possible that they may be found not guilty, yes, and they will go home.
Yes.
And yet, because the system is not ready, they are presented to the court and they are sort of not granted bail. Because they are not granted bail, they have to be kept in custody. That is remand.
That's right, yes.
And they live in the remand for too long.
Yes.
Right. So, I've been doing this prisons project, Esther, and I went to Kumasi to interact with some of the prisoners as I was working to get some lawyers to pro bono go into the prisons to see how we can help. Mm. And one prisoner was shouting, said, "Sir, I've been here for 20 years. I have not been tried." I'm like, "You're joking." And someone confirms, yes, he's not joking. Remand, how is that possible? So you will say that what they are saying is a fair assessment of the system?
It is something, because...
Is it not an exaggeration?
No,
sometimes?
not at all, not at all, because, for Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, we have a program that we do visit police stations, right, to assist indigent arrested persons. And we come across these cases over and over and over again. Recently, I think some time ago on the same platform, my boss Mina was here and shared some incidents at the Dansoman police station where somebody reported it was an accident. He reported, he went to the police station himself. And then before we were able to, we heard about it and went there, the person has spent already 4 days with the police. So it is very fair and it is very true and it's ongoing.
4 days before they are taken to court?
Yes.
And this is a breach of Article 14 of the Constitution.
Totally.
Yes.
But somehow it is normalized in some of the police stations.
Yes.
What do you think? What should be done about that? Let's deal with that first. Because the law says you should not be held by the police for more than 48 hours. If before 48 hours the police cannot grant you bail, they should take you to a court of competent jurisdiction to determine whether you should be granted bail or you should be remanded.
Yes.
And yet people suffer this.
I believe, I don't know what exactly else we can do, because a lot of education has been going on concerning this. But then I think the problem is that people lack access to legal assistance, because it's not easy, it's not affordable for people to just access lawyers to assist them in the process. And therefore, and we all know that the Legal Aid Commission is a state institution that is mandated to do that, but they also have their own challenges. So this thing never happens. So a lot of people go through their system, they are not even aware of this right. Those who are aware, and you know how our state institutions operate, especially the police, the security agencies and all that. I mean, intimidation in the process and all that. So you are even aware that you're not supposed to spend beyond 48 hours, but you are with them. So what do you do? And there's nobody to assist. I believe that, as you have indicated, the technologies, infusing technology into the system is the way to go. Because I believe, I'm sure when, as we are discussing, we will get to know that if this CTS is working as is expected, you cannot keep somebody beyond 48 hours. You will keep the person, but then the system, there will be somewhere that the system will be showing for other stakeholders to be aware that there is a problem somewhere. And for instance, whilst we are doing some of these work, we realize that even Legal Aid Commission, sometimes, or most cases, are not even aware of people who have been arrested and who need their assistance in the first place. But this system will now help, because this system have all these institutions on one platform. So it's built in such a way that immediately, for instance, I'm using the Dansoman case, immediately the person reports or the police arrest the person, and then they enter the information on the system. Legal Aid Commission gets an alert immediately.
So let's drive right straight into the Ghana Case Tracking System, the CTS. What exactly is it, Etonam?
So the CTS is an interagency case tracking tool that is used to track the life cycle of criminal cases from inception to where the cases end. I mentioned interagency. There are 6 agencies that are on the system. We have the Ghana Police, IOCO, Legal Aid, Attorney General's DPP, Judicial Service, and then Ghana Prisons.
Okay.
All of them are on the system.
I suppose now, because this was launched in 2018, I suppose now that the special prosecutor has come, the special prosecutor may also have to be connected, because there are people who will find themselves there. Except that as it looks, the people who find themselves as the special prosecutor are rich people who can afford.
Even need the system. Yeah, it's very true. It's very true.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I was going to add that. In fact, I'm sure the system is not solely restricted to this 6 institutions, but for now, that is what we have. Per the development of it, the idea is that as time goes on, then other key institutions that are needed are brought on board, especially through our engagement with Shraj has indicated their willingness to be on the platform because of the mere fact that people's rights are abused, and therefore if they are on the platform, before you even go and make a complaint to Shraj will get to know on the platform. So as time goes on, other institutions will be put on it.
Right. So interagency, and you're talking about 6 agencies, more importantly the police and the Attorney General. These are very important. And then you bring in the legal aid as well. I understand that this is so far in only 7 regions, right?
Yes.
Accra, Ashanti, Volta, Northern Region, Western Region, Borough, and Upper East regions. So now take us into the details. How exactly is this supposed to work? How does it work?
Okay. So we all know cases start from the police station, either the police station or IOCO.
All criminal cases.
All criminal cases.
Yeah, almost all.
Yes. So the case is entered into the system, referred to an investigator. On doing the investigation, they determine whether a suspect has legal representation or not. If the person does not have, there's a box that's ticked, and then legal aid is alerted that, okay, there's someone in our custody who needs legal representation.
Brilliant.
That person is given representation. From there, we go to, if the case has to go to AG for advice, it is sent to AG. Then
No, but before you go there,
yes,
I just like this. Once you are arrested and you are taken to the police station, they must input your name into the system.
yeah,
That is the case tracking system.
yes,
Then it will be known what case you are facing and so on, and whether you have a lawyer or you don't have a lawyer,
yes,
whether you have been granted bail or you have not been granted bail, and what should happen.
yes.
All right, interesting. Then you said if it has to be assigned to the Attorney General, then
It goes to Attorney General for either advice, or if they realize that it's a case that they have to handle, they retain that docket and then follow their due procedures to make sure that justice is served. Now, if that case happens to go to courts, then the judges who sit on the case give their verdicts, and then if the person is imprisoned, you go to prisons. That is how come it goes through those 6 agencies.
so at the click of a button, I can sit in my office, as in the Attorney General people or the police or IOCO or is it Shraj, Legal Aid Commission and the rest of them can sit in their office and click and find out that for this week, about 20 people were arrested in Accra or this particular district, and they were taken to this particular police station.
Yes.
Out of the 20, maybe 10 of them were granted bail, 10 have not been granted bail. So they are here, they are there, they are there. This one has a lawyer, this one doesn't have a lawyer. So the one that doesn't have a lawyer, we must go to their aid to find out if, is that how it works?
That's right, yes.
Esther, this sounds too good to be
To
true.
believe, yes, and that's
Yeah, and this has been in the process for a couple of years now.
yes.
Okay.
Launched in 2018.
Tell us more about it. Why at all did you find the need to sort of make provision for this? Because it involves money, bringing people together, training them, and providing the tools.
Okay, so I believe a lot of reform has been going on in the justice sector, a lot, which we are all since independence. And one major one is the infusing or utilizing technology in the system. And then the main reason or the need for it was because of some challenges that even the institutions, the justice sector institutions themselves are facing. And therefore, they are not able to perform as is expected. And in that effect, people's rights are abused in the process. Mm. So, and some of these challenges I'm talking about here is poor communication among the key justice sector institutions. So, communication and coordination. An example is that through our engagements with these institutions, at times you go to the police station and you're following up on a case. Mm-hmm. And then they will tell you that the docket has been forwarded to the AG for advice. You go to AG and there is no docket of that sort. So you realize that there's a communication gap among these institutions, and that alone can cause somebody to linger in prison or police cell for a very long time, which end up abusing the person's rights. Another example or another challenge is the issue of missing case dockets and then slow processing.
Right.
And like I said, when you follow some of these cases, there are some people who have been in remand, as my brother has said, for so many years. And then when you try to go through the process to trace the person, you realize that the person's docket cannot be found. Simply because at times, maybe the officer or who was in charge of his case has even been transferred or is on retirement, or the person
has gone on peacekeeping duties.
Exactly, and
they keep saying those things.
Okay, you are in the sector,
as if they have carried the case away.
Can you imagine? And proper handing over does not take place. So in this scenario, the person, the poor, and then somebody, the person who has been arrested and is in the custody of the police or the prison is the one who is going to suffer from all these challenges that we are talking about here. Now, so the issue here is that in order to bridge some of these gaps, we need a system where it will be easy for something to, like you said, a click of a button and information is accessed. Because in this day and age, and this is a manual, so what I'm talking about is a manual process. It means that the police has to take a docket and take it to the AG's office or take a transport to the Legal Aid Commission if the person needs a lawyer and all that process. But we realize that so these are the reasons for this, some of these challenges is because we need some system in place that will help bridge or minimize some of these challenges.
Wait, are you saying the case tracking system takes away the fiscal and manual aspect where one has to take one file from here, move it to the next?
So for now, they are all working, they are going, I mean, you are doing that together.
Okay.
Because for instance, we are now trying to use the system. So we are not completely doing away with the manual process. So when you go to the police stations, you realize that after, I mean, inputting in their book and all that, they are supposed to also put the data on the system. So they are doing the process and it's going together. But then if it becomes totally, if we adopt it and we are using it, I believe that all those manual process will do away with it. But for now, even though the person, I mean, the manual process has not been taken away and the person still needs to take the docket, it means that if the information is inputted on the system, before you even take the docket, AG has already received the information. So this is only just to back up because, and this also helps as a backup system. So it means that you will take the docket as it is for now.
So
but then,
because of this system, like Etonam said, a case goes to the court and not all cases end up in the court. So when it terminates at the police station, everybody within the system will know that the case has terminated.
Exactly.
And the person has been let go, they are free to go. But if it goes to the court and a judge makes a decision, it could be that the person was sent to remand and the case was determined when the person was not in the courtroom, because that happens. So if the judge said this person has been acquitted and discharged, then the service, all the people within the system will know that this person who was sent to this particular prison is supposed to be released to go because they are no longer to be in the system. Is that correct? We understand that since it was launched in 2018, in 2021, by September 30, about 16,255 cases were reported at about 40 districts, using 40 districts, but only 7,466, cases were inputted in the system. That's not encouraging. 16,000 and only 7,000 inputted in the system.
Let me come in here. Something interestingly, even the 16,000 we are talking about here are cases that have been, reported in various police stations across 40 districts.
That's right.
40 districts that we are implementing the USA Justice Sector Support activity. As against the 7,000 you mentioned, the 7,000 is actually cases on the system for all the CTS districts. And the CTS district is more than the 40 districts. 40 is where we are implementing the advocacy activity. Okay. But for the CTS, as we speak now, it's in around more than 100 districts, right, across the 7 regions. So you can imagine this 7,000 you are talking about here are cases that were on the platform from all the CTS districts, which is more than 180 districts. So that is the situation as at that time.
The question I had put to you earlier was, is this working?
For now, based on our findings on the ground, because I will say findings because as part of the project, we have a group that goes to the various stations across the 40 districts to monitor the utilization of the CTS, which we call them the community case tracking groups. Now, from the information we are receiving, most of the stations are not using the CTS. As Etonam indicated, the police and Iyoko are the originators. So the whole process starts from these 2 institutions. So we can at least pardon the other 4 institutions, because if the police doesn't input into the system, it will not get to the AG for AG to also work on it. for all the other institutions to work on it. And therefore, that's the reason why the police stations is one of the key institutions that we are monitoring the utilization. But like I said, most of the stations that we went, most of them are not using it. So for now, it is not really working as expected. But I believe we can do better because...
What should be done?
Well, we can do more training. So when we go to the sites, this is something that I experienced myself. There's a lot of resistance. You can go to a police station and then the station officer there says, hey, I'm not computer literate, and he doesn't want to expose that weakness. So from the get-go, there's resistance to even use the system. You train them, you think everything is well, when you leave, and then they just pack the equipment because I'm not computer literate. I don't appreciate the use of the system, so they don't utilize it as it should be.
Yes, what do you want to say?
Yes, so I mean, the training, of course, and as part of the activity, Etona mentioned the fact that after the training, you leave and then they pack the equipment. Let's bear in mind that this equipment is also supported by the USA. After helping Ghana to establish this system, the USA also supported Ghana to get all these sites to get laptops, modems, internet access and all that to be able to use the system. And truly, when you go on the grounds, some of these machines are packed and is kept in the cupboard. In fact, some of those using tablets, because the tablets were given to the superiors, and some of them are, using it for their personal activities and all that. So what needs to be done? Something as for training, like as part of the activity, we've done training for them. One of the challenges that the issue of transfer of police officers, exactly. So you train somebody here, for example, if this is the station, you train somebody here in this station, the next moment you go, then the person has been transferred to another station. And unfortunately, the person will be transferred to a station that does not have the CTS. So the knowledge and skills that the person has acquired become useless. And then another issue is that those that receive even the training also refuse to hand down the training to their colleagues in their stations, because the idea was that for them to serve as training of trainers, you'll be trained because, of course, we cannot train everybody. So the few that benefit from this training are supposed to hand down the information to their colleagues, but that's not happening. So that's one of the challenges that we are facing. And then also, for as we speak now, there is no policy document on it. So it is not mandatory.
That is a very important aspect. Introducing technology to ensure effective investigations and prosecution of criminal cases through the case tracking system. Should we need some policy that makes this mandatory? Otherwise, it will continue not to grow in the manner that it should, because as we have found out, this is very important to improve information sharing and coordination among law enforcement and agencies and the judicial authorities as well. Let's bring on the program a practitioner, but my guests in the studio are Esther Aholu, Programs Manager, Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, Africa Office, Public Education and Advocacy Specialist, USAID JSS activity, and Etonam Naza, who is Systems Implementation Engineer, the focal point, Greater Accra Inter-Regional Bridge Group. Joining us on the phone joining us by Zoom is a former state attorney. Somebody who has worked at the level of keeping watch over some of these things and going to court in the name of the state for a long time, and who is now managing a law firm, Ado Legal Attorneys. Ni Papo Samoa Ado. Thank you so very much for making time to join us.
Oh, Samson, it's a pleasure. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. Right. So, listening to our guests who, through the USAID, justice support activity, seeking to implement this thing since 2018, and encountering these expected challenges within the criminal justice system, and also hearing the people we spoke to around the court area, who, irrespective of being not being, as it were, professionals or anything, had ideas about the slowness in the system. What would you say needs to be done? At this point, they seem to identify that making it mandatory for when a case is reported, for it to be inputted into the technology, into the system, and then for everybody else within the system to see that at District A, somebody has been arrested, this is his name, he's been granted bail, he's not been granted bail, he's been put into this cell, so that if the 48 hours is expiring and that person is still there, there'll be red alert. Then maybe Attorney General or legal aid or some other institution will say, this person is still in this cell, he shouldn't be there. Or a judge will become aware that I have granted Nikujo bail on to this day. It's been 2 months. I can see on the system that he's still in Sawam. I need some explanation, and so on and so forth. Or I have discharged and I have acquitted and discharged this person, but I can still see in the system that he's still in the Kumasi prisons. What do you say of the system and
Samson,
what needs to be done? Yeah.
Oh, it is doable. I think that there are immediate things that we can do to improve our criminal justice delivery system. And as somebody who's worked in the system, I have my own ideas. It's just that, unfortunately, sometimes I say I've been lazy to put some of them on paper and to push them through to the Judicial Secretariat. But I think some of them can be done. Let me give you some of the basics. Okay. For example, I don't see why we should still be going to court in respect of the issue of bail. Critically, a lawyer has to be in court to argue bail. I think that with the onset of the COVID, we should be able to deal with motions without appearing in court. So that if someone is arrested, for example, we should be able to file a bail application and have a ruling given by a judge without appearing before the court. That is one of the fastest ways of dealing with motions.
Explain that. How does that happen?
Okay, so for example, somebody is arrested, okay, and you get a lawyer. I'm a lawyer for the person, because right now the law is that we can go to court on weekends. It's not how that is being administratively implemented. That's a different thing. But at least the Supreme Court has spoken. 48 hours is 48 hours. Mm-hmm. So immediately you arrest the person, the clock starts ticking. When the person has the privilege of having a lawyer, or somebody from legal aid goes in to file a bail application upon being away, I don't have to give the Attorney General's office 3 clear days notice when I file a formal bail application. I think that it is a very gray area in the law. Some judges insist that you should give the Attorney General's office 3 clear days. I understand, because if you are in Accra, for example, the administration of the police, the Attorney General's office is centralized. So if you file a bail application in Accra, the Attorney General's office has to call for the docket and study it before it can respond. Clearly, that means that it is impossible for any state attorney to respond to a bail application within 24 hours. It's not possible. Okay. Because practically, the application will come to the registry of the Attorney General's office. It will have to be assigned. First, it will sometimes go to the office of the Attorney General. It will then go to the registry of the Directorate for Public Prosecutions. It will go to the Director of Public Prosecutions. And then the Director of Public Prosecutions will now assign it to a state attorney. I can tell you that will take like 5 days. You understand? So there's absolutely no reason why, if a bail application is filed, based on the content of the application, a judge cannot look at it because our rules allow for judges to be able to look at the contents of an affidavit and an application and give a ruling. So for me, that is the first thing.
Let's go to your next idea. But I was thinking, I am familiar with something like this for civil cases. For example, in the UK, where you file the application, a judge will simply pick a phone and call you up, ask you one or two questions, and say that it's granted.
Correct. So you can imagine the amount of work that we can get done if all pretrial applications, like bail applications, are dealt with by virtue of the positions that you file. Once there's evidence that it has been served on the Attorney General's department, it matters not whether they decide to respond. It will force the Attorney General's office to also get proactive.
I thought your first idea, as I understood it, was that it shouldn't even have to get to the court for us to deal with the question of bail.
No. It has to deal with the court. So you file the application. It goes to the court system. A judge is assigned. A judge should be able to look at because we've now automated, a judge should be able to look at the bail application and make a determination.
All right, let's get to the second one.
A response from the Attorney General's department. My second one is about the issue of arrest. Okay. We have a problem with how we deal with the question of arrest. We've had a situation where there's such a large discretion with the police as to what constitutes an arrest. The Constitution says there must be what? Reasonable basis. If you look at the Afoko case, for example, the court has gone to the point where it has made the point that, look, the power to arrest and the actual act of arresting is a discretionary one. And once it is a discretionary one, it must abide with Article 297, which deals with what the requirements are when a person is exercising discretionary power. I think that it's about time we had legislation on when and what a police officer must meet, the criteria he must meet before effecting an arrest. What it will do is that it will take away a lot of the discretion they exercise. Can you imagine that somebody goes to the police station and says that, look, I have a dispute with you. And then before the police will conduct the investigation, they will actually effect the arrest. It is a very difficult thing that we have to deal with as practitioners.
Right.
You go to a police station, you will have countless arguments with the police commander, telling him that, look, if you look at the provisions of the law, you don't have any reasonable basis to detain the person. You can grant the person police inquiry bail, do investigations, and then when you have solid evidence, you can now go and deal with issues of arrest, especially when the person is not a threat.
Thank you, Neil. Hold on there for me. Thank you very much. And I tell you this story, and it happened in the course of the week. And I think I mentioned this somewhere. My wife, somebody called her, and she's a lawyer. Somebody called her, and what was the issue? The police were trying to detain an elderly woman. And she made an inquiry to find out what is the problem. The problem was simple. This woman is trying to light fire to cook. And I think smoke went to the next house. And then another elderly woman in that house comes to this woman to complain that, look, you are causing smoke. This is not fair. And they exchange, sort of insults, 1, 2. Before this woman says Jack, police have come to pick her up. They took her to the police station. And it was evening when my wife was called. She's not being granted bail. And she says, why? Why won't you grant her bail? In the first place, what is her offense? They say, oh, they are planning, they are going around, they will find the offense for her. Eventually, she intervened, got the woman bail. And they left. They called, I think, the next day to say thank you to her. And she discovered that they had paid money to the police officer before the bail was granted. Can you imagine? So Nee is saying that the system some of the things that clog the system is first the arrest and the issue of bail. If we're able to deal with that, we'll not have too many, matters that require attention. But where do you stand, Naza Etonam? The suggestion that there should be a policy making it mandatory for the case tracking system, so that everybody, once a case comes, you must input it. Don't you think that is the best way to go?
Yes, that is the best way to go. There's a court in the Volta region, I'm not too sure of the name, where the judge insists that before a case is brought to the court, it needs to be entered into the system.
Great.
So they are recording high numbers in case entry over there. So policy is important in getting the usage to go up.
Great. Apart from making it mandatory, Esther, what else are you thinking? What can be done? Because I can't believe that we are not taking advantage of this and making the maximum out of it.
Okay, so I believe that, let's not talk about training, I mean capacity building and all that. I believe that we can include issues on the case tracking in the training curriculum of the various training institutions of all these justice sector institutions, so the police training school, the judicial training school, because if I think right from the beginning the person is exposed to this system, when the person is posted to the station, the idea of the fear of interfacing with the computer will be a thing of the past, because like Etonam said, that is also a problem. I mean, when you go, some people they don't even want to, someone doesn't even know how to operate the laptop in the first place. I mean, we encounter that so much. When you go there and then bring out the laptop, they even want you to switch it on for them. Something that has been given to them for so many years. So I believe that we can include it in the training curriculum of these institutions so that right from the beginning, the person will take it up. And one challenge that we also got it from the field was that internet accessibility, because the system needs internet before cases can move from one institution to the other.
Right.
The system has an online and offline version. I'm sure Etonam will. So for a particular institution, for instance, at the Ghana police station, you can open the system even there's no internet to make your input and everything that you need to do.
Okay.
But then before you can push the case to the next institution that needs to also work on it, you need internet to be able to do that. And we all know the problem with our internet connectivity in the country. So that has been a major problem. So if, for instance, the state can also work in collaboration with the telecommunications to ensure that connectivity is at its best in some of, in the regions or the district, at the district level, it will help a lot.
I'm sure some of the officers are listening, as in the agencies, the Ghana Police Service, the IOCO, the Attorney General, the Legal Aid Commission, Judicial Service, and the Prison Service. I'm sure, and a good number of them watch this show. Take us through, how, basically they are supposed to be operating this system so that we can get them to embrace it. As we understand, the benefits are obvious. This will provide, it's providing a common platform for easy tracking of cases and communication between all the institutions. Then it also allows for easy and quick sharing of information on the cases among the institutions. Again, it will definitely promote transparency and accountability. For example, it will provide message alerts on court dates for remand prisoners, which is very important. When I go to the prison, some of the things I hear is that someone was supposed to go to court. They don't come for the person. They don't take them to court. The warrants that keeps them on remand expires, and the police officer just goes somewhere, does a renewal and brings it, and the person is still there, languishing there. And through this system, you're able to generate instant reports, on crime to guide and also to inform decision-making of our leaders. So this is very important. What can you tell these 6 institutions that are supposed to interrelate and use this?
So, like you said, you can generate reports from the system. The leaders need reports to make actions. So if they understand the importance of the data and the reports that can be generated from the system, it should help them to be able to get those below them to work, because then it makes work easier for them. We also have the issue of handling physical dockets. We know they can get missing, like
they do get missing.
They get missing.
Not that they can get missing.
Yes, they get missing. Sometimes we have issues with legibility of handwriting. The system provides a standardized form for you to fill with all the data fields. So there's no issue of, oh, we've lost a docket, or I cannot see what the investigator wrote. So the system is there to help all of us. So if we are not making good use of it, then it's something to worry about.
All right. Ni, such a system, from somebody with your experience and good background from the Attorney General's department, must be very important to the system. So, but it starts with the police station, who are doing the arrest, who are doing the remand, and the rest of them. Should it be made mandatory, or the heads of the various police stations should take this upon themselves that this is good, and so they should go ahead with it? What will you suggest?
There's actually a constitutional injunction that remand prisoners and prisoners who are convicted are not supposed to be kept together. And for some reason, we have abused the rights of remand prisoners all this while. They have no business being mixed up with convicted prisoners. That is a constitutional provision. If we are sticking to that particular provision, what we are supposed to have are separate custodial institutions for the remand prisoners and convicted prisoners. We used to have that with Usher Fort, where Usher Fort was actually a remand place, and we had a place for convicted prisoners, which was in Sawam. For some reason, we closed down Usher Fort, and then we bussed everybody off to Sawam. I understand the practical difficulty of the CID investigators. They have to cough their own money to be able to do what it is that they do. So it is difficult when you have to get prisoners from Isawam and bring them all the way to what? To court. It becomes impractical. The bar system where they try to bring the buses, loads of prisoners, because I live on the Isawam road, to court every day. That is a start. But we need to have separate institutions for dealing with both of them, and I think it will help.
Look, seeing that this is very instrumental.
But the other thing is...
Yes. Yes, please go ahead. Okay, you are home and you are doing further duties. That's appreciated. That's appreciated. You wanted to say something. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Okay, we have a bit of an issue. We can take just a few calls, just a couple of calls. So if you are lucky to get through, we will hear what you have to say and what questioning you may have. Particularly for those of you who interact with the criminal justice system, it may be that you have some idea to share. So the phone lines, as you always, you see them on the screen. Use them and get to us. Ni's line I realized you wanted to say something. Yeah. I was asking Ni about this. Apart from making it compulsory, it's not everything that should be made compulsory before people can do it. The officers and commanders in charge of police stations, this is a standardized system. It makes the whole process simple for you. What do you have to tell them? Because this is good for them.
Should I just, before he comes in, Samson, we need to make it mandatory because these are institutions, especially the Ghana Police Service, which is the key originator. It's a command structure. It's a command structure. So if you are not getting the subordinate to do what is expected of them, I believe that if it's become compulsory, people will have no choice than to
Justice, do it. You are calling from Chifu Praso. Give us some justice.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi.
I was so happy when the discussion started and so on, but all the happiness and my joy just died down when I heard it is not compulsory, it is not backed by any law. We know a lot of people in this country who enjoy abusing people's rights. So if there is no document backing it, then I am afraid all my happiness have just died down because there is no document backing it. Okay. And then secondly, I want to ask, now that there is no document backing it, if a suspect is arrested, does he have any right to insist that his information is imputed into that system?
Good. I'll get an answer for you because it is not yet nationwide. Habib Afenya. Hey, Habib, let's hear you. Hello, Habib. Habib, you are calling us from Afenya. Can we hear you? Oh, Habib, you are not paying attention. Can you hear me? All right. Unfortunate. Habib is not paying attention. What will be your answer to justice? He's asking. He agrees that it should be compulsory. But beyond that, for now that it is not, as a suspect, if I'm arrested, can I insist that you input my name and my circumstance, everything, into the case tracking system?
No, Samson. I mean, you can, because, for instance, I remember throughout our public education on this CTS, people keep asking this question. So can I just walk to the police station and ask that, okay, so my brother's case is supposed to be put on the platform? You cannot do that because there's no law forcing them to do it. As it stands now, it was more like an agreement among the institutions.
Why should we need a law to force us to do it? Abdul in Amasaman. Hello, Abdul. Let's hear you.
Afternoon.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my question goes to your two guests. Yeah. I just want to know what is the relationship between them and then our local language, because most of these people who are in prisons, I feel me to say local people who don't know how to read. Even their parents also don't know how to read, and they don't know, excuse me to say, what law is. So my question is, I want to know whether there are some relationship with local language so that this thing will be translated into local language.
Thank you very much, Abdul. Let's get Felix. Felix, you're calling from Springtest. Let's hear you. Hello, Felix. You're calling from Springtest.
Yes, I'm calling from Springtest.
Go ahead.
Yes, I would like to know whether, in a rape case, the victim, the man,
Felix.
Detained and put in custody.
Whether what?
Whether the man involved can be detained and put in custody in a rape case.
A man who is accused of rape.
Yes, a man who is accused of rape
can be detained.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's all we can take for now. Let me go to the lawyer with us, Ni Papo Samoa Ado. Okay, we just lost him. Okay, so, basic. If the man is the accused person, he can be detained, except that he ought not be detained beyond 48 hours by the police. So within 48 hours, he's supposed to be processed for bail by the police or taken to the court for the court to determine whether he will be granted bail or not granted bail. That's what it is. Yes. I think the question that came in from, was it Felix? No, this is rather from Felix. Amasama, that's Abdul, right? Yes. Whether there's a way you communicate in, local languages, indigenous language, to get people to appreciate, because most of the people who suffer the injustices are poor people and perhaps could be illiterate.
So, Samson, the communication here, you mean, I believe he means education, when you're doing education, because I don't think he's talking about the platform. Of course, yes, we use local languages in all our public education activities. So the answer is just simple, yes, we do.
The point, however, is that this is supposed to be driven by the implementers, police, prisons, and those people.
Exactly.
So they should rather be communicating to the people they arrest. Yes. That there is this system we are putting your name on, we are showing that. Is that so?
Yes, they're supposed to do that.
Okay. We have just about a minute or so to close. We have been looking at the subject of speedy justice delivery, particularly in the criminal justice system. My guests in the studio are Esther Holu, who is Programs Manager, the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative Africa Office, and Etonam Naza, who is Systems Implementation Engineer with the Interregional Bridge Group. We were joined by Nikbako Samoa Ado, who is a private legal practitioner with Ado Legal Attorneys and a former state attorney, sharing his views on how to make things a lot easy. I'll take your very final comments. What would you say? What do we need to do? Because we have it. We just need to make it work and work more effectively. Yes, Esther?
Okay, so I will repeat what I said because I believe that that is the way to go. We need a policy document backing this because experiences on the ground has shown that most of the the justice sector institutions are really not so much interested in using the system, especially the police.
And because some of them have handicap.
Exactly. So I believe that if we have a law backing it, we will put in place the right kind of structure to support, because they also need support to be able to use the system. Right. So if we have this, it will help the system to work well.
Right. What will be your last words?
So, like Esther said earlier, we need to train from their police depots, from their training schools. That way we get a lot of people who are knowledgeable about the system, know how to use it, and then it's easy, it lessens the burden of having to let trainers go around.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. Gentlemen, rather. Thank you so very much for joining us, and for our viewers and listeners also. God willing, next week, we will be dealing with matters about land. We have done some for a while now. We'll do a lot more about that. I'm Samson Lardy Anyenini. This has been The Law. It's your legal light. It's your help law. And we're looking at the subject of getting speedy justice delivery, particularly in criminal justice. Let's make the case tracking system compulsory, mandatory, through a policy, if not a law. Have a good afternoon.